Thanks, James. Excellent. All right. Thanks, Mitch. Beautiful. Am I echoing? What can I do about that? I might turn the volume down a little bit. And I'll close the door because I've got a bit of traffic noise outside. So I'll just do that and then I'll come back and we'll get started. Thanks for that, Jen. All right, hopefully that made a difference. Did that make a difference, Jen? Cool. Was that a yes? Thank you. Awesome. All right, let's get started, guys. Good to see you all again. Or I can't see you, but it's good that you're on board. Welcome to tonight's Zoom session. All right, for those that are new, that's my name. I'm Greg. Good to have you on board tonight. What we're going to cover tonight is a short Kahoot session, and then we'll get into the general revision questions as usual. Our knot for tonight is one that everybody uses quite regularly on a daily basis out there in the ARB industry, and that's the Marlin Spike hitch. But there may be a few things that you might not know about the Marlin Spike hitch that you might learn tonight. Our tree ID is going to be Lophostomen confertus and Corymbia torreliana. So what I will do is just get you guys to raise your hands when you're ready for this Kahoot in a minute. And for those that are new, make sure that you get a pen and paper and a length of rope so that you can practice your knot. Make sure you're muted during the training and click the Q&A to type in a question if you would like to ask a question. Usually we review these at the end, but if it's important, we can pause and review it during the Zoom session. Please click on the raise hand icon if you need to ask a question urgently. All right, so I'll just jump on Kahoot and share tonight's passcode. So just give me a moment just to set that up, and if you can all get your phones ready, and then we'll explain the process. Okay. We're just loading the game pin, everyone. So I'm just about to read that out in a minute. Should be on the screen. Can everybody see that? The game pin is 6015603. right, so we've got Oscar, Jacob, Stace, Harley, Maxa, Josh, Ed, and James. Sweet. Just waiting for a few more guys to jump on board, and then we'll get started. We've got 8 out of 17 participants. 9. If you're having any dramas getting on, just raise your hand and I'll see if I can help. Give you a couple of more minutes just to log on. Is anyone just sitting in and not actually participating in the quiz? If you are, just let me know. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, sweet. All right. Well, I will give it one more minute and then we'll get started. All right, for those that are logged on, are you guys ready? We'll start this quiz. Zoom 4, session 4 quiz. Right, let's go. Which tree is more prone to bark inclusions? Albizia juliabrisum or Q. peniopsis anacardioides? Good work, guys. Good answers. All right, question 2. Let's get ready. What is the safe working distance that should be maintained between the tree faller and other personnel? 1 times tree height, 2 times the tree height. There is no set distance, whatever crew decides on that on the day, or 1.5 times the tree height. Good work, guys. Right, next question coming up. Oscar's in the lead. Good work, Oscar. And off we go. True or false? You can use the sheet bend knot for life support. Oh, you guys are on fire. Excellent job. Oh, Jacob, well done, mate. You're on top, in the lead. All right, guys, next question. What is the correct angle to hold a pole saw when trimming overhead branches? 60 degrees or less, 90 degrees, 70 degrees or more, or 60 degrees to 90 degrees? Nice work, everyone. Good job, Jacob. All right, let's go. True or false? The sheet bend can be used for rigging and lowering down branches. True or false? False. It's a good answer. All right, let's have a look at this podium. Jacob takes it out. Good job, mate. Well done. It got a couple of runners up there, Ed and Josh. Beautiful. All right. Let's move on to our PowerPoint presentation for tonight. Okay, thank you to everyone that participated in the Kahoot. Let's move on to tonight's session. Again, if you have any questions, just write them in the chat panel. And we will either help answer them at the end or throughout, depending on what the question is. All right, can everybody see the screen again? Okay. Happy days. Let's move on. Okay, so we're just going to go over one of the questions from last week. So it was about the height of a log, which is also in your dismantle trees unit, which is an interesting one for those that really enjoy maths. They like getting into this sort of stuff, but I'm just going to pop up the answer from last week's one. All right, so the calculation is pi r squared times the height. And we've got 3.14 times 100 equals 314. Then you've got the 314 times 2 meters with an answer of 628 meters cubed. So how did everyone go with that? It's one of those things that's a good good thing to know, definitely in industry, depending on what type of work you do. All right, can you all grab a pen and we'll get started on tonight's questions. Don't worry if you don't know the answers, you might not have covered it yet, but for those that were on previous Zoom sessions and have studied some of those tree profiles, you should be pretty good with the answers, depending on how much you've looked into it. So let's go. All right, so the first question for tonight is, how many deeply enclosed valves are there on the fruit of the Corymbia gumifera, bloodwood? If you don't know, just have a guess. Just write it down. Okay. I just had a interesting message come up from Mitch in the review panel. So from that question from last week, just the question wasn't in full. So that might be something that, you know, when we get back to class and you're in front of us, we can crunch some numbers and do some maths as well. But thanks for that, Mitch. All right, so let's move on to question 2. What shape is the seed capsule of the Corymbia gumifera, the red bloodwood? What shape do you think that actual capsule is? There's a few different shapes from eucalypts and corymbias and angophoras that you could identify it with. Question 3, what is the common name for Eucalyptus grandis? And if anyone's happened to, you know, been lucky enough to climb one of those, I think they're a big, beautiful, large tree. Question 4, how tall can Eucalyptus grandis grow to? How tall can it grow to? Answers may vary there, but they do get very tall. Question 5, what are the oldest living trees on Earth? There's something for you to think about. You may or may not have thought about before or seen a documentary about any of that sort of stuff. But I find knowing a little bit of that kind of, knowledge about trees is always interesting. What are the oldest living trees on Earth? All right, let's go through these answers. If I am going too fast for anybody, please just send me a message in the chat. Sometimes I might go too fast. Sometimes I might need to slow down a little bit, but just let me know, okay? All right, let's go through these answers. Question 1 was, how many deeply enclosed valves are there on the fruit of Corymbia gumifera, red bloodwood? The answer there is 3 to 4. 3 to 4 enclosed valves. That could possibly be a key identification feature if you were using a taxonomic key and you had to narrow it down to identifying the correct species. What is the shape? What shape is the seed capsule of the Corymbia gumifera, the red bloodwood? It's urn-shaped. It has an urn-shaped capsule. Just make sure that for those that are new in horticulture or arboriculture that you're not, and I'm not saying that anyone would, but occasionally you might get the buds mixed up with the actual seed capsule. The seed capsule is the actual capsule, not the flower buds. What is the common name of the Eucalyptus grandis? Was question 3. And the answer there, of course, is the flooded gum, which is one of my favorite trees, guys. How nice is that? Look at that picture. Magnificent, beautiful looking tree. How tall can Eucalyptus grandis flooded grub, not the flooded grub, the flooded gum grow to? Sorry, guys. 60 meters. So anything up around that mark, if you've written something like that, well then that's a good answer. And question 5, what are the oldest living trees on Earth, guys? White pines, eucalyptus trees, boabs, bristlecone pines. So if you look up some of those particular trees on the internet, you should find some information about those. Knot 4 is the marlin spike hitch, which is what we're going to be studying tonight. So for those that have a bit of rope with them, I know a lot of you already know how to tie this, so just listen in and you might find out some interesting facts about the marlin spike hitch. Okay, so what do we use it for? Everybody knows that we attach things with the marlin spike hitch to send up equipment to either someone in an EWP or a climber. The approximate strength, it's not to be used for heavy loads ever. I'm not sure if there's a table with the approximate percentage of strength, but yeah, it's not made to be used for heavy loads. It's not used for cinching. It's not used for life support, definitely not. No rigging. I kind of, for minimal type rigging, like sending up small stuff, I would. Don't need a backup because it's tied midline. Tail creeps, yes, if tied in the wrong direction, which is what we'll look at tonight. We'll look at the pros and cons of what can happen if you tie it in the wrong direction. The minimum tail length, it is a midline knot. Very easy to untie, and that's why it's a good choice for sending up chainsaws to a climber or a, you know, a drink bottle or something like that. Hand saws. All right, marlin spike hitch, also known as the marlin spike hitch. Quick, easy knot, can be tied with one hand. Just one good thing about that is it's quite a work efficient knot. So where they say it can be used with one hand, you can go up, tie it with one hand, clip whatever you need to do back onto it, and then you're off and you're working efficiently, so you can continue doing what you normally do on the work site, which could be cleaning up, observing the site and whatnot. Take care not to tie it upside down because the tail can pull through. And we'll pop up a video, and I'm pretty sure they explain that sort of stuff on this video. So just bear with me for a minute and I'll get the video sorted. Can someone please just give me the thumbs up to let me know if you can see that screen? Just in the chat box, just give me a thumbs up or a yes. Beautiful. Thanks, Jane. All right, let's play it.
Another super versatile knot or hitch for setting up equipment or quick attachments in the tree industry is the marlin spike hitch, which we can see tied here with an attachment, i.e. carabiner coming through that loop. I'll show you how to tie this knot. Super easy to tie, very quick to tie and untie in fact. It's not to be used for heavy loads though. It can cinch up a little bit, but let's just have a go at this. I'll just pop that bite out there and we'll tie it from scratch and then we'll have a chat. So to tie the marlin spike hitch, what I like to do is, if you imagine this rope is coming down from the canopy and dropping into space, I like to take an overhand clockwise loop and then I'll slightly twist that to go up and capture the standing part of the rope hanging out of the tree. And then I'll bring the tail up without moving this right hand too much at all and create a loop within here. And you can see that that loop can move. And the benefit of that is that I can attach something through the loop like a carabiner and then attach anything to that biner. And as the climber pulls this knot tight or pulls the rope into the tree, it cinches up around that carabiner and they can take the load into the canopy. The good thing with this is you can just break the back of that turn there. It's super easy then because you've got a loop that's moving. You just pull some slack into that loop, undo the attachment, and then you end up with a slippery overhand which just literally slips out. Super easy for the climber and obviously super easy for the ground crew to tie. So quick, ready to go. Climber takes it up, object goes out, slippery overhand, bang. So really easy, really quick to tie. There's something to be very mindful about this knot though in terms of how it functions and how you tie it. You can tie this knot upside down. I find it really tricky because I never do it, but it can be used upside down in terms of a rigging application. I'll talk about that in a moment. But if you do tie it upside down and send it up to the climber, I'll show you what the issues are with that. So tying it the correct way, clockwise, overhand loop, up, standing part, so it cinches as the rope goes into the tree. tying it incorrectly, we're still doing our clockwise overhand loop, but we're twisting this loop back down and capturing the standing part of the running end. Pulling a bite into that. Now the difference here, remember this is going up into the crown of the tree. The difference here is if we attach something in as the aerial worker takes this rope up into the tree, the weight of the object captured in this loop can actually continuously pull down. So as the climber's taking the rope into the tree, we're actually pulling the tail through the bite so that it collapses. And if you're thinking about using it for life support, don't, particularly for that reason. So I'll just tie it upside down again to show you how you might use that in a rigging application. Again, clockwise overhand loop. The line is going up into the canopy here, so we're twisting it back down to capture the standing part on the running end. And we are pulling a bite into it there, so now we have a loop here. The good thing about this knot in terms of a rigging application is if you want to send the rigging line back to the climber who's repositioning and there's a block or a pulley attached up in the tree, this knot tied upside down actually acts as a stopper. So once it actually gets to the block, it will stop. And as a savvy ground crew, you've kept enough tail in this line so that the climber who's moved away from the initial rigging point can still reach this rigging line, grab the tail and pull it across to them. And as they do that, they can actually slip that slippery overhand and bring the rigging line across to them and then rig the next piece, still using the block in the same position even though the climber's moved. So fantastic as a stopper knot for sending up if you tie it upside down, but you certainly want to be tying it in the correct way, marlin spike, clockwise overhand loop, twist that up to capture the standing part, pull the tail in to create a loop there, capture your object, in this case really great for sending up equipment and quick attachments, or when it's tied upside down, used in a rigging scenario as a stopper knot at the block in the tree.
Okay. Sorry about that. I think the internet might be playing up a little bit. So just bear with us tonight. If it's cutting in and out, I can play the video again later anyway. All right, so back to our PowerPoint presentation, guys. So for those that have already had a practice run that hadn't tied it before, I'm pretty sure you'll work it out. And if not, we'll definitely be there to support you during class to, help you with any questions in regards to how to tie any of the knots. All right, so another really nice common tree that we're going to be looking at tonight is Lophostomen confertus. So for those that aren't familiar with Lophostomen, they're a really hard type tree that have razor sharp bark, commonly used around the place as a street tree. Particularly in Sydney area, you'll see a lot of them in Sydney. So on the screen, we've got an example of a tree profile sheet. So just bear in mind that when you're out there doing your profiles to, break it down into the different categories and just step by step work through it. get that information that you need to study your trees for. And then at the end, from all that good resource material that you're going to be going in and looking at, and books that you're going to be grabbing and reading, you're going to write down those references at the bottom at the end. All right, you can see the distinct whorled leaf pattern on the Leuphostomum, and the nice dark glossy green leaf. So the botanic name is Leuphostomum confertus. It is a brush box, commonly known as the brush box. They are distributed across eastern Australia from coastal northern Queensland, coastal northern New South Wales. Fraser Island is one of the places that they're indigenous to, and they grow magnificently in their natural environment. They look almost completely different when they've been untouched, and they're huge. The dimensions can be 30 metres to 15 metres. I've seen them taller than that, especially on Fraser Island. They're quite majestic looking over there. They have an upright canopy with a domed crown. And the features, I guess, the key identification features of the leaves, that whorled leaf pattern with the dark green glossy leaf, and the bark. And I think the capsules too are interesting. So if you have a look at the capsules, they have sort of, once you get to know what the shape of the capsules are and what they look like, and you're familiar with them, for me, that's another key identification feature. So let's have a look at the morphology of the leaves. The leaves are ovate shaped to lanceolate. They could be 12 centimetres to 5 centimetres across, so they can be quite large. Glossy, dark green, as mentioned, and paler underneath. So that would be discolorous, slightly leathery in texture. So that's when we look at our sensors in your tree profiles, that would be something you could write in the profile, that they're leathery in texture. The flower characteristics are that they're a creamy white flower borne in terminal clusters. The stamens of the flower are conspicuously arranged in 5 elongated clusters of 5. So I hope that's all making sense. Fruit characteristics are 10 mil across. You can actually see the cup-shaped capsule there in the photo, and they're green while maturing to brown, sort of woody color. But a lot of the time you'll see them quite green with that cap on top, with a bit of a brown rim around the edge. The growing environment, endemic to sandy, loamy soils, hence Fraser Island. In tropical and subtropical climates, they tolerate most sites and conditions throughout Australia. Really hardy tree, like I mentioned earlier. Branch and trunk and bark features. So they have a really rough, I like to describe it as razor sharp bark. They're very sharp to touch the bark. If you're going to flake it, pull those flaky bark bits off. On the lower trunk, they're smooth brown, orangey, and yeah, so if you peel it back, you might get that orangey type mottled color underneath. There's a really good photo capturing the flowers and all the stamens and the clusters of 5. For these trees, as I keep saying, they're hardy, so resilient's another good word. And they're used for a wide variety of sites because of their tolerances and climates as well. They're a good streetscape tree, considered safer than eucalypts in urban settings due to the very few limb drop failures. For the environmental and ecological benefits, they're a native species which is suited to a wide variety of locations, climates, situations. They interact well with other native vegetation as well as native fauna Australia-wide. So they integrate and tie in well with our native Australian fauna, which is something you've got to think about if you're planting up an area, so that it's all part of that green belt and it's all connected. The tree presence of fauna, so we get obviously birds, other native fauna utilize the trees for habitat. I've seen possums and stuff in them like that. They have good health and structure and fairly resistant to pests and disease. I have seen a lot of leaf hoppers on them, but I don't think they have any kind of major impact on them. Identification method is a field guide, or in my case, it would have been recognition. Tree 7, that was tree 7. All right, so I'm just going to play this video again.
Another super versatile knot or hitch for setting up equipment or quick attachments in the tree industry is the marlin spike hitch, which we can see tied here with an attachment, i.e. carabiner coming through that loop. I'll show you how to tie this knot. Super easy to tie, very quick to tie and untie in fact. It's not to be used for heavy loads though. It can cinch up a little bit, but let's just have a go at this. I'll just pop that bite out there and we'll tie it from scratch and then we'll have a chat. So to tie the marlin spike hitch, what I like to do is, if you imagine this rope is coming down from the canopy and dropping into space, I like to take an overhand clockwise loop and then I'll slightly twist that to go up and capture the standing part of the rope hanging out of the tree. And then I'll bring the tail up without moving this right hand too much at all and create a loop within here. And you can see that that loop can move. And the benefit of that is that I can attach something through the loop like a carabiner and then attach anything to that biner. And as the climber pulls this knot tight or pulls the rope into the tree, it cinches up around that carabiner and they can take the load into the canopy. The good thing with this is you can just break the back of that turn there. It's super easy then because you've got a loop that's moving. You just pull some slack into that loop, undo the attachment, and then you end up with a slippery overhand which just literally slips out. Super easy for the climber and obviously super easy for the ground crew to tie. So quick, ready to go. Climber takes it up, object goes out, slippery overhand, bang. So really easy, really quick to tie. There's something to be very mindful about this knot though in terms of how it functions and how you tie it. You can tie this knot upside down. I find it really tricky because I never do it, but it can be used upside down in terms of a rigging application. I'll talk about that in a moment. But if you do tie it upside down and send it up to the climber, I'll show you what the issues are with that. So tying it the correct way, clockwise, overhand loop, up, standing part, so it cinches as the rope goes into the tree. Tying it incorrectly, we're still doing our clockwise overhand loop, but we're twisting this loop back down and capturing the standing part of the running end. Pulling a bite into that. Now the difference here Remember, this is going up into the crown of the tree. The difference here is if we attach something in through to this loop here, let's say it's a large saw, long bar, big power head ready to block down, as the aerial worker takes this rope up into the tree, the weight of the object captured in this loop can actually continuously pull down. So as the climber's taking the rope into the tree, we're actually pulling the tail through the bight so that it collapses. That's not a good thing. So it's the sort of thing that you must be super mindful of. And if you're thinking about using it for life support, don't, particularly for that reason. So I'll just tie it upside down again to show you how you might use that in a rigging application. Again, clockwise overhand loop. The line is going up into the canopy here, so we're twisting it back down to capture the standing part on the running end. And we are pulling a bight into it there, so now we have a loop here. The good thing about this knot in terms of a rigging application is if you want to send the rigging line back to the climber who's repositioning and there's a block or a pulley attached up in the tree, this knot tied upside down actually acts as a stopper. So once it actually gets to the block, it will stop. And as a savvy ground crew, you've kept enough tail in this line so that the climber who's moved away from the initial rigging point can still reach this rigging line, grab the tail and pull it across to them. And as they do that, they can actually slip that slippery overhand and bring the rigging line across to them and then rig the next piece, still using the block in the same position even though the climber's moved. So fantastic as a stopper knot for sending up if you tie it upside down, but you certainly want to be tying it in the correct way, marlin spike, clockwise overhand loop, twist that up to capture the standing part, pull the tail in to create a loop there, capture your object, in this case a carabiner, climber cinches that down, dressed and set, and it's ready to go into the tree. Really great for sending up equipment and quick attachments, or when it's tied upside down, used in a rigging scenario as a stopper knot at the block in the tree.
Okay, so we're back on board, guys. Cool. Let's move on to the rest of tonight's presentation. I'm sure you've all been practicing while you're watching the video anyway, so you can, if you want to practice some more, that's cool, but I'm pretty sure it's a fairly easy one to tie and a great knot to know. So let's grab a pen and a paper again and go through some questions for the marlin spike hitch. Question 1. Is everyone ready? When can you tie the marlin spike hitch upside down? When can you tie the marlin spike hitch upside down? Question 2. Can the marlin spike be used for a life support system? Would you trust your life on a marlin spike hitch? Question 3. What can happen if you tie the marlin spike hitch upside down to send up a chainsaw? What do you think might happen if you tie a marlin spike hitch upside down and go to send up a chainsaw? Question 4. Is the marlin spike hitch a midline attachment knot? Or is it an end of line attachment knot? Or a midline attachment knot? Question 5. Name 2 reasons why an arborist would use a midline attachment knot. Pretty straightforward, guys. Let's go through the answers. All right, question 1. When can you tie the marlin spike hitch upside down? When you want to create a stopper knot to stop the rope going through a pulley, leaving a long enough tail for the climber to retrieve, which makes it really easy for the climber to undo as well. Or not just the climber, you know, if someone's in an EWP, it's going to work the same way. Question 2, can the marlin spike hitch be used for life support? No, definitely not. Big no. Question 3, what can happen if you tie the marlin spike hitch upside down to send up a chainsaw? The tail of the rope can pull through and the saw could fall to the ground. So if you had something like that, then you were listening to the video. Question 4, is the marlin spike hitch a midline attachment knot? It is definitely a midline attachment knot. Question 5, name 2 reasons why an arborist would use a midline attachment knot. A quick attachment knot for sending up tools. It's tied upside down as a stopper knot in a running bowline. And 2 reasons why an arborist would use, I guess it should say there, the marlin spike as a midline attachment knot. If that makes more sense. All right, if anyone wants to see that video again, would you like to raise your hand? I guess if I get more than 2 people put their hand up, I'll play it again. Sweet, I think everyone's good with that. Let's go to the next tree profile. Okay, let's move along. If you like one more attempt to tie the knot, well, then there's a diagram there that you can look at, because what we find in the ARB industry, in particular with knots, that everybody has different ways of learning things, especially with knots. Some people like to watch a video, some people like to look at a book, and some people even like to use those knot apps and you know, watch the knot as it goes through to tie itself. And then I've also had other guys that just want to go outside and practice and get it done out in the field. All right, Corymbia torrelliana. Let's have a look at this profile. So we've got just a generic profile there for that tree. It's got everything that you need to know about the tree, basically. So you have to run your eyes over that for a minute. You know, I guess a couple of the good things that are on there would be the identification method. So you can see that a taxonomic key was used, which is something that everybody needs to do. What else is there? We'll go through it. We'll go through it in detail. There's the botanic name. Common name is the Catagai. It's from rainforests of northern Queensland. Grows to 30 metres in height and a spread of 15 metres. It has an upright habit, an open domed canopy. Branches grow at right angles from the main stem and can have dense foliage cover. Key identification features of this particular tree are the bark, the rough bark sock, and the smooth green upper canopy, leaves and fruit. So the leaf morphology includes that it's ovate in shape, up to 15 centimetres in length, so quite a large leaf, 3 centimetres across, dull green in colour. Flower characteristics are white in colour, are borne on small groups that are arranged as a terminal panicle at the tips of the branches. Flower buds are ovoid, egg-shaped, with rounded operculum and flower during spring. The environmental and ecological benefits include that the tree is causing negative environmental impacts outside its natural range of the northern tropical rainforest of Queensland due to its ability to outcompete other species endemic to the southeast of Queensland. It is also negatively affecting the local populations of native stingless bees, which with the sticky resin from the fruiting capsules clogging the hives. Branch, trunk and bark features. So we spoke about that a bit earlier before. Smooth green grey branches and stem. So it's a key identification feature of the tree. It sheds in strips. The fleshy revealed bark is greener and dulls to grey with age. There's a smooth portion of trunk, leaves a powdery mildew with residue when touched, and the lower portion of the trunk has a rough sock or bark, which is darker grey and tessellated. Fruit characteristics: woody urn-shaped capsules, 10 millimetres by 12 millimetres, containing 3 compartments. Capsules begin green and mature to brown. Identification method, we spoke about that a little bit earlier. So lucidcentral.org is a really good one to log into on the internet to have a look at with some of your trees. The growing environment for this particular tree requires tropical environment of its origin to northern Queensland tropical forests. Sensory features: powdery. All right, can you guys just raise your hands if I'm still on, or did I cut out for a second? Thanks, guys. Yeah, my phone just rang and I'm Bluetooth hotspotting from my phone, but if the phone rings, it sometimes cuts out when it rings. All right, beauty, good to know. Thank you very much. So tree presence of fauna includes birds and insects. The health and structures was in good health and structure at the time, which was true to its type out in the field. Pest and disease: it's regularly affected by sooty mold, which can be detrimental to any aesthetic benefits. They can provide excellent shade due to the dense, broadly spreading canopy. All right, let's go through some general revision questions for tonight. So that was a really interesting tree to look at, and particularly for me because I come from the south coast area of New South Wales. So it's very interesting to learn about new trees. Question 1. All right, grab your pens again, guys. We're nearly there, not long to go now. Name 3 consequences to a branch that could cause a result of lion's tailing. For those that have heard of lion's tailing or read about it or heard about it in class. Question 2. If the branch is tip-tied, which section of the branch will fall away from the cut? If the branch is tip-tied, which section of the branch will fall away from the cut? Question 3. What would be the bend ratio of a rigging system running through a block if the block was 3 times the diameter of the rope? So we're looking at bend ratios there. There's a couple of rules about that. What would be the bend ratio of a rigging system running through a block, or the bend ratio of the actual rope, if that makes more sense, running through the block if the block was 3 times the diameter of the rope? Describe what is a whoopee sling. Question 4, describe what a whoopee sling is. We have whoopee slings and loopy slings, and they pretty much are the same, have the same functionalities, but they're just set up differently. Question 5, describe the process of transpiration in trees. A couple of tricky ones here at the end, and I know it's getting late for some of you guys in New South Wales. Describe the process of transpiration in trees. Give you a minute to think about that. For those that aren't too sure, just bear with us and we'll go through the answers in a minute. Does anybody want me to read out any of those questions again before I go through the answers? If you do, just raise your hand. No one wants to go over any of those ones again? Cool. All right, let's move on to the answers. So question 1, name 3 consequences to a branch that could be a result of lion's tailing. Weaken branches, so it can weaken the branches. It can, you can end up with development of epicormic growth and sunburned bark. So I guess that picture there, if you have a look at the bottom branch, maybe, but if you think about lion's tailing, you're basically creating a bit of fluff on the end of a branch and cutting all the branches along the actual limb and leaving a tail, and it's not recommended practice. All right, so there's some epicormic growth there. So that's a picture of what that can result in because of the adventitious buds under the bark, which are going to sprout as a response to stress. Here we've got some weakened branches. So weakened branch crotch and a strong branch crotch. Sunburned bark, so some trees end up with some scalding due to sunburn. I'm not sure if they got those pictures around the wrong way, because generally a U-shaped union where if you have a look at the wheat crotch, if that's a U-shaped union and all those are fused nicely together, then that's a stronger union than a branch that has an included section in it where the bark is rolling inwards. So we'll have to review that one later, just double check. Question 2, the branch is tip-tied. Which section of the branch will fall away from the cut? If the branch is tip-tied, which section of the branch will fall away from the cut? Of course, the butt end of the branch will fall away from the cut. Question 3 was about the bend ratio. So let's have a look at this answer in detail. It's important for the bend diameter of a rope to be at least 4:1. A large rope can damage a pulley. 3:1 bend ratio of the rope is the relationship of the diameter of the branch or sheaf to the diameter of the rope wrapped around it. So basically, never bend a rope to a degree which equals a distance that's more than its own diameter. Describe what a whoopee sling is. A whoopee sling is an adjustable eye-to-eye sling used for rigging. That's a good picture, that one. Very good job. Describe the process of transpiration in trees. All right, so transpiration is when a tree draws water up from the ground through its roots and then releases it from the leaves. And there's a really good example there in the picture on the screen. So transpiration is when a tree draws water up from the roots, from the ground through the roots, and it releases it from the leaves. David Attenborough has a really good demo of that on YouTube, a video where you can have a look at. Goes up on a fire truck ladder with a hose and basically fires the fire hose up in the air to show you the turgent pressure of the water that's being raised up through osmosis. All right, so I guess it's question time, guys. We're nearly there. Got a couple of raised hands, so I'm just going to close this PowerPoint and I'll open up all the chats so that we can actually talk. All right. Okay. Can everybody hear me still okay? I'll just let everyone in so that we can talk. Just give us a moment. Yep. Thank you. All right. If I can't for some reason open your chat up, your microphone up so they can talk, just let me know because it keeps popping up to add you as a panelist, which is, I don't know why it's doing that. Jean, Yeah, yours is asking me to add you as a panelist. I don't know why, but if you want me to answer any of your questions, mate, just raise your hand. Cool. No worries, man. All right. Well, welcome to the chat room. I had Harley. I think Harley's hand was sort of raised first, mate. So
Yeah, but that last question 3, the bend ratio,
yeah,
I understand the information to give, but it didn't actually answer the question, did it? Because we didn't get given what the bend ratio was of that question.
yeah, good point. It is a bit of 3 to 1.
Look,
If the bend ratio was running through a block with a block was three times the diameter of the rope, so the rope would be 1 and that'd be 3 to 1.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But that's
Yeah.
The answers they gave is not really the answer to the question.
Yeah, true. Good point, mate. That's the answer. So we'll have to review that one and fix it up. Thank you for that.
Right, but
We do try our best, mate.
mate, at least I picked it up.
Oh, it's good. On the ball, mate. On the ball. It's good.
Yeah, I do listen sometimes.
Who else? Just speak up. I guess first in, first dressed. Thought I had a couple of more guys raise their hands before, but has anyone got any questions?
I actually do. I was just wondering to confirm the dates for the next course down in Nowra, just so I could get some accommodation.
Oh yeah, no worries, mate. I'm not sure how much time in advance they'll give you to organise that, but I guess that's something to call the office about.
No worries.
Yeah, but I could shoot them through an email for you if you like.
It's all right. I think I got their email, so I'll just send them an email. That should be right.
Yeah, no worries.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
Beauty. How's everything going with you anyway now?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm back to work, so
Sweet.
body's pretty fucked after doing nothing for 6 weeks and now working pretty hard, but
Yeah. It takes its toll, doesn't it? You've got to move around, otherwise you seize up.
I try as much as I could, but it's still way different to working a full day.
100%. Yeah, like when you've been in the industry too for a while and you build up all that muscle memory over time, particularly if you're a climber or you're dragging branches and carrying stuff all the time, and then you stop, you can pound on the put on a bit of weight and you seem to everything just goes into reverse. So sometimes it's good to keep moving.
Sure.
When I was in isolation, all I had was my trampoline, so I used to get out and jump on that for a half an hour sort of thing at a time.
That's good fun. Don't have a trampoline, but I have a few trees near my house, so I was doing a bit of climbing, but
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Bit of traversing. Yeah. So, anybody else want to ask me anything about tonight? About any of the trees or anything like that, or? Nope. Cool. All right then. Well, if you guys are all good and I'm all good.
Yeah, Gregor?
Yep.
That second tree 8,
Yep.
is that also pronounced a Kadaji?
Kadaji, probably. Yeah, I think so. I'm not that familiar with that one, to be honest. I'm not from that area, so
because I've heard of a Kadaji tree, but I haven't heard it pronounced the way you did, which doesn't mean that I don't pronounce it wrong.
I'd say it would be a Kadaji. I could follow that up with Brent Hart, but I have heard of the Kadaji before, so that it's got to be a Kadaji because I've heard someone say that. I just didn't think of it at the time. That's all.
Yeah, unless there's someone else out there that may have picked up on it, heard it before.
Yeah, and there might
Josh,
even
have you
be.
heard it? You there, Josh?
I don't think Josh is on anymore. Yeah, Josh isn't on there anymore.
Oh, we lost our Mr. Googles.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, the Kadag guy, I think I called it, but anyway, Kadaji sounds better. I'll accept the Kadaji, I think.
Right, cool. That's right.
No,
Bye,
you're
mate.
right.
I'm on a cruise.
Cool. Thanks, Harley.
I'll see you in December.
Yeah, sounds good. Perfect.
Bye.
Later. Unless anyone's got any questions. Sweet. All right. See you all later.